This week on the Compliance Tip of the Day, we're going to look at the ubiquitous term of fraud, waste, and abuse and explain why it's important for a compliance professional. The Compliance Tip of the Day. This is the podcast where we bring you daily insights and practical advice on navigating the ever-evolving landscape of compliance requirements. Whether you're a seasoned compliance professional or just starting your journey, my aim in this podcast is to provide you with a bite-sized, actionable tip to help you stay on top of your compliance game. And now I'd like to say a few words about the latest podcast on the Compliance Podcast Network, AI Today in 5 with 5. Thrilled to announce the inaugural episode of my latest podcast series, AI Today in 5. I wanted to do a short, curated set of stories and news stories about AI for the compliance professional and the greater business professional. You can check it out on Megaphone, the Compliance Podcast Network, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Apple, or wherever great podcasts are listened to. Check out AI Today in 5. Today we look at fraud, waste, and abuse through the lens of a best practices compliance program to help fight them, and how you as a compliance professional can make a few tweaks to your program that hopefully will help you in the fight against these iniquities. So how can you use your best practices compliance program to help you fight fraud, waste, and abuse? A truly effective anti-corruption compliance program must address these because when designing a program, all three categories should not be seen as separate from bribery and corruption risk, but indeed integral to them. Bribery schemes thrive in environments where fraud is unchecked, where waste is tolerated, and where abuse of authority is normalized. So how can the compliance professional do so? Well, number one, fraud prevention. Strengthen your control environment. Fraud sits at the heart of most corruption schemes. Bribery rarely occurs without falsified invoices, fraudulent expense reports, or deceptive third-party contracts. That's why fraud prevention must be embedded directly into your anti-corruption compliance program. Modern fraud prevention is inseparable from data analytics. Reviewing transactions for anomalies in billing, procurement, or travel help compliance officers identify both fraudulent activities and corruption red flags early. 2. Waste reduction. Linking efficiency to integrity. Waste may not sound like corruption at first, but it often creates the environment in which corrupt practices thrive. When organizations tolerate careless spending or redundant processes, this is a signal that accountability is optional. Waste becomes the fertile soil in which corruption can take root. By spotlighting waste, compliance leaders not only save the company money, but also reinforce the culture of stewardship and integrity, the two qualities that reduce the likelihood of corruption. And finally, abuse. Abuse often serves as a gateway to corruption. It thrives in gray zones where managers stretch policies and exploit loopholes or turn a blind eye to questionable behavior. Abuse may not always cross a legal line, but it corrodes culture and opens the door to bribery and unethical decision-making. By shrinking the space in which abuse can occur or thrive, companies make it harder for corrupt practices to be normalized. An anti-corruption compliance program that only focuses on bribery but ignores fraud, waste, and abuse is incomplete. Fraud fuels corruption, waste fosters a condition where it flourishes, and abuse normalizes the behavior it enables. By embedding fraud prevention, waste reduction, and abuse control, data analytics, and whistleblower empowerment into your anti-corruption framework, you will help prevent all three of these very real scourges. So what are today's three key takeaways? Well, number one, fraud prevention. You need to strengthen your control environment. 2, waste reduction, linking efficiency to integrity. And 3, abuse control, guarding against the gray area. I hope you will join me again tomorrow where we wrap up our 5-part series on the fight against fraud, waste, and abuse, where I try to tie it all together with 10 key takeaways for the compliance professional on what you can do for a best practice or with your best efforts to help fight these corporate scourges. Things that I'm happy to do for you, the compliance profession, is if you have a question or a series of questions you would like some compliance tips on, I'm happy to take any requests that you might want, certainly anonymize them, and give you a quick tip, either one quick tip or maybe a week's worth of quick tips. So if you have any tips you want about your compliance program, you can shoot me an email at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. This podcast was created and produced